Hey, everybody, you're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. I'm your host, Felipe. And it's been a while since I last did an episode, but I had a chance during the holiday break recently here to create a new spreadsheet to share. As I get that ready, I'm about to share that with everybody in just a bit, just doing some behind the scenes thing. I thought I had this size the way I wanted to, but no, not the way I was hoping it would look like. But there we go. That's a little bit better. All right, I'm about to share my screen and we're gonna take a look at the baseball savant numbers. And again, as you guys may or may not know, this show is powered by these spreadsheets, right? So, so I downloaded like this gargantuan spreadsheet from Baseball Savant, looking at base. I'm sorry, is it Baseball Savant? Yeah, right. It's called Baseball Savant, looking at the Statcast numbers from last year, 2025, uh, and just trying to figure out what went right, what went wrong in pitching, as that seems to always be the big. Well, at least for me, it seems to be like the big struggle in recent memory. Like, what is going on in pitching? Like, why does it feel like the pitching is just not the way it was, as secure of a position like it used to be? Used to be that you can always count on a few pitchers here and there throughout the year and not expect a lot of turnover, and it just seems like the turnover has just gone up over the last couple of years, especially with all the rule changes that was to benefit hitters, including the removal of the shift. But even then, we're seeing pitchers dropping like flies due to injury. Mm. Just wanted to take a sip of my coffee here. And it's just this emphasis on strikeouts, which leads to more pitches, which leads to less innings, which leads to more stress on the arm. At least that's it seems to be like a culmination of theories here. And something I just try to do every year is just try to look at the Statcast numbers, because I usually just live off of Fangraphs, but I try to dive into some of these baseball savant numbers. And in this one, I downloaded about 70 different data sets, data columns, whatever you want to call them. So this thing had 70 columns, and I narrowed it down to what you see on screen here, and that's just a microcosm of things. Uh, but yeah, some of the things I wanted to keep an eye on was, make sure. So as you guys see on the bottom here, I'm splitting this up into four different parts. There's the regular starting pitchers. There's the starting pitching tab. I guess I'll show it to you right now. It's a little bit small here. The starting pitching tab, where uh, pitchers only face less than 295 batters this past season. So I did one for. I wanted to keep a separate tab for the full timers and the part timers, so to speak, quote unquote part timers, the guys who failed to face 295 batters this past year. And the relief pitching, I have it down to less than 150 plate appearances or batters faced. I asked, I clicked on the batters faced um, data to include as a column on the spreadsheet over at Baseball Savant, and instead I got plate appearances. So that must be the batters faced, and I'm just gonna go with that. So the relief pitchers is not ready yet, but we're just gonna talk about starting pitchers, and we're just gonna take a look at some of these numbers. Uh, Maybe not all of them, because we're not gonna be here all day like that. But here are your league leaders in strikeouts. Garrett Crochet, breakout year. He got the big contract from the Red Sox, and now he wants to play. He wants to pitch. Led league leaders in strikeouts with 14 more than Tariq Skubal on this list here that you see. Logan Webb, surprise. You know, he's only 28 years old, and I think it's time for me to start investing heavily in Logan Webb. I usually try to avoid him because it just feels like he's just a pitch to contact pitcher. But he has a good mix of pitches and he's a pitcher's pitcher. The dude just knows how to pitch. He has good control, and now he's adding more strikeouts. So I think it's time for me to move him up on my cheat sheets for this upcoming season. Jesus Luzardo, finally, he's playing on the right team, winning team, getting the run support, and the smaller ballpark in Philadelphia didn't stop him from producing big numbers. 216 strikeouts here on after waiting, it seems like ages for him to break out and do well, and he's finally coming into his own. There's Paul Skeens. I mean, we know who he is. Dylan Cease. We know who he is. Christopher Sanchez, another Phillies pitcher, left-handed, another Phillies left-handed pitcher, who at one point was not considered a strikeout artist, but an innings eater, a guy who just gets out of just is just productive, right? But there's not a lot of sizzle. But I've always liked him, even before the strikeouts, as a nice back of the line pitcher. But the Phillies have been working on him to increase his velocity, as we've mentioned on this podcast before, and the result is 212 strikeouts, seventh place on this list here. There's Hunter Brown, who there's always questions about his pitching arsenal, but again, another guy who all he does is produce. Freddie Peralta and Carlos Rodon. Might as well keep going. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Sonny Gray in 12th place, or tied for 11th place with Yamamoto for the Dodgers. Sonny Gray recently got traded to the Red Sox, so not as I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that, but Sonny Gray, that's another guy. All he knows is how to pitch, and it just I believe last year or the last couple of seasons he's switched to more of a primary breaking ball pitcher, and it's worked for him. I mean, and he's 35 years old, and it looks like he could pitch until he's 42. I mean, kind of like following the Charlie Morton roadmap to his career here. And of course, some of the breakouts here: Brian Wu in 13th place, Joe Ryan in 15th place, Nick Pavetta yeah, he looked pretty damn good this past season in 16th place. Kevin Gossman tied for 17th with Max Fried. So some of the big name free agents that were signed in the last couple of seasons, proving that and not just that, but they what I thought was going to be a bad time for both of these guys because they're pitching in smaller ballparks. Well, all they did was prove that it didn't matter. They just go out there and perform and rack up big numbers. Jack Flaherty kind of ran out of gas at the end, but he had a pretty decent season, so he'll be another guy that we'll look at the back end. So these are the guys with the big strikeouts, and there's Framber Valdez rounding out the top 20 here. So is there anybody in this top 20 that we do not want to draft based on, let's call it a poor strikeout per walk ratio? Let's start there. Is there somebody in the top 20, top 25 that we should be wary of? And right off the bat, at 2.55, Robbie Ray. But we already know Robbie Ray. He always has great stuff. Coming back from the elbow surgery, I believe, in his age 33 season, according to this Statcast data that I pulled from Baseball Savant. 2.55 strikeout per walk ratio on the low side, but that's not the reason you draft Robbie Ray. You kind of just live with the high walk rate and you just hope for the big strikeout numbers, which he does, the dominant stuff, which he has, like, especially based on his on base percentage against a 222 expected batting average, despite the fact that where is Robbie Ray these days? I think he was with the Giants last year, I believe, man. Yeah, it's bad. Like my memory is like this past baseball season has been such a fog, a haze of sorts, and I know I had Robbie Ray on a majority of my teams this past season. So yeah, the Giants. So and his strikeout numbers went down, but just based on league on this spreadsheet. And oh, which by the way, if you guys are not familiar with my spreadsheets and the way I conditionally format them, I love color coordination. I know some people look at the colors and they, oh, that's just too icky. I don't like it. But basically, if it's like a dark red, like you see here, 32.3% for Logan Gilbert's strikeout rate, that's excellent. And then you get to lighter reds and orange hues. That should be above average. A yellowish color like you see here at 2.94, 2.75 strikeout per walk ratio from Mackenzie Gore and Shane Baz. That sh that's about league average thereabouts. If you see like a greenish color, that's below league average. So the 2.35 strikeout per walk ratio from Yusei Kikuchi, Issei Kakachi, 2.35. That's below league average. And then you get to the blue parts. Like I didn't know what to make of age. I'm the same guy who always preaches about, hey, sometimes older is better when it comes to pitching. Sometimes. So we got 336 years old, 336-year-olds in Merrill Kelly, Chris Bassett, and Chris Sale on the blue side. If you want to go deeper, deeper, and deeper, oh, well, there's one 41-year-old Charlie Morton on the blue. But if we want to look at the numbers, like a dark blue figure, here it is. A very minuscule 14.2 strikeout rate from Mitchell Parker. I think he's with the Nationals if I remember correctly. And there's another example, 14.9 strikeout rate from Miles Mikolas. So that's another guy we try to avoid. But anybody people are going to say, oh, well, he was among the league leaders in strikeouts. So looking at just the strikeout totals, are there pitchers based on strikeout per walk ratios that we should be wary of? I know I already mentioned Robbie Ray inside the top 25, but I can live with Robbie Ray as long as he's dominant, plays in a gargantuan ballpark, and just continues to be a strikeout artist like he has been his entire career. So now go outside of the top 25, and now we're looking at anybody 26th and beyond on this list. There's 2.35 for Yusei Kikuchi, a little bit of a red flag, although the strikeout rate is pretty good. I'm not a fan of this 9.6 walk ratio and a 752 on base percentage against, so that's kind of worrisome. We got a Gavin Williams at 2.08. We've been kind of waiting for Gavin Williams for a while now. It's one of those prospects that's been on our radar, and it's just the production is not where we want it to be. Although the strikeout rate is well, the on base percentage against is well. It's this walk rate that's really hurting him, and it's killing us for those in category leagues, probably killing your ratio stats, and even for points leagues. And it's walks are negative numbers, and that probably leads to a lot of uh, what do you call it? Stress on the arm and probably creating bad whip and bad ERA. I'm double checking to see if my prediction is correct or if my correlation or whatever you want to call it, if my if I'm guessing correctly here. I don't remember the ERAs off the top of my head. But yeah, 4.46 walk per nine ratio. That's disgustingly ugly. ERA 3.06, but expect the ERA of 4.28. FIP field independent pitching of 4.39 and only a 1.4 WAR. And what was the whip? I bet this guy looks like a 1.30, 1.35 type of player. And the whip, if I could find it, 1.27, so not too shabby. Either way, we like to see a lower number, so that's kind of a ironic. Even though it's in a greenish color, it's a red flag for Gavin Williams, especially when you have all these other good pitchers on this list here. Even the 36 years olds that I was alluding to earlier would be better options than a young Gavin Williams. We get to pitcher number 39, Jose Soriano, 1.95 strikeout per walk ratio. The strikeouts are not, I mean, they're okay, but it doesn't justify picking up a pitcher who's only has a walk per strikeout ratio below 2 because of a high walk rate. Although the on base percentage against is very, actually surprisingly good, more than I anticipated from a Jose Soriano. However, as I look up on the other screen, 4.26 ERA. The peripherals. I mean, Jose Soriano has always been a pitcher to keep an eye on, but these are not the result. I don't want to have a pitcher who has a strikeout per walk ratio below two. But the 4.26 ERA, 4.07 expected ERA. I will give him this, that the field independent pitching statistic peripherals do like him. What was the whip? Well, if Gavin Williams was 1.27, then that means what, 1.28, 1.29 for Jose Soriano? Oh no, 1.40. So he has control issues with the walks and command issues, as ironically enough, it's a respectable on base percentage against, but that's just tells me that he's giving up a lot of hits as well. And I'm double checking that assessment on the other screen. He's giving up. No, not. Oh, well, that's the projection. Okay, so he only gave up 158 hits in 169 innings pitch. So the walks are really, really hurting him in that regard. And that's what's causing the high whip of 1.4. I mean, that's ridiculously high for anybody, let alone a guy who we're kind of losing patience with in Jose Soriano. Let's see here. What is that? 158 times 9 divided by 169. 8.4 hits per 9 innings. It's still kind of high, but you know what? For all intents and purposes, it's still less hits than innings pitched. So that would explain a little bit why the on base percentage is low despite the pretty high walk rate. And I didn't highlight the walk rate because I want to concentrate on the ability of these pitchers to strike out guys. And we kind of already have the check and balance to see, yeah, the high strikeout rate, but low, but the high walk rate is killing their strikeout per walk ratios. David Peterson, yeah, that's another guy. We're kind of, oh my goodness. Hmm. That's another guy who we've been waiting on for a while now. He's 29 years old. He still has issues with control. So yeah, 150 strikeouts. That's pretty good according to this chart, but a 2.31 strikeout per walk ratio when you have other guys with higher ratios, like a Mitch Keller. I'm not a fan of Mitch Keller. That's a low strikeout rate, but I mean, I have to take the higher strikeout per walk ratio here. And there's still Edward Cabrera, who's a much more interesting pitcher. Ranger Suarez, who's a much more interesting veteran, much more interesting 29-year-old left-handed pitcher than David Peterson is. Charlie Morton, he's retiring, I believe, so we can skip him. Andrew Abbott, I believe he's also left-handed. Younger than David Peterson, much more interesting pitcher there. So we can skip David Peterson for this upcoming season. Just the ratios are just too high. Another again, that's Charlie Morton, but another red flag, Brandon Pfaadt. So in this regard, we have a guy who did pile up the strikeouts, did have a good ratio, but a strikeout per walk ratio, but then the strikeout rate's at 19.2% from a guy who was supposed to be this really good, can't miss type of prospect, and just doing two things at once here. Andrew, I can't remember all these guys. Like I'm at a point in my life where I can kind of use the idea, the old adage of I've forgotten more players than I remembered at this point. I've watched baseball for such a long time. I play this fantasy baseball for such a long time that I've forgotten more players, and I can't keep track of every single one of these guys. But yeah, left-handed pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. I do know that much. But getting back to Brandon Pfaadt, I mean, he still 26 years old, so a chance to kind of rectify some things here. But this was supposed to be a can't miss prospect for the Diamondbacks, and a lot of their can't miss pitching prospects have kind of just been stuck on neutral, and it just seems, just based on what I looked at from their pitching arsenals, it just seems like they're being encouraged. Like guys like Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson are being told, hey, just throw the ball as hard as you can down the middle and see what happens. And I think that's basically what's happening here, which would explain the high on base percentage against for Brandon Fat. So I don't know. He's still young enough where he had 33 game starts last year, so that's a good thing. And he's still young enough to maybe see if we can see some correction. I mean, you're not a highly touted prospect just by having ordinary stuff, pitching stuff, right? Like this was not supposed to be a guy who's just a pitch to contact pitcher and is just a control artist. I mean, we love the 4.8 walk rate, but we would like to see this strikeout rate a much higher and this on base percentage a lot lower. Eduardo Rodriguez, I think he also played for the Diamondbacks this past season again. I know I picked him up a few times last year off waivers, but yeah, yeah, he did pitch for the Diamondbacks last year, according to the Fangraphs page on the opposite screen here. You guys are not able to see that one, but yeah, again, 32-year-old left-handed pitcher. 2.38 strikeout per walk ratio is bad. On base percentage against is not good either. So we're just this is all we're doing, just looking at the blue colors like Sean Burke, I believe he's a White Sox. You know, we are encouraged as White Sox fans, we are encouraged to see so many young players. Yeah, he's a White Sox pitcher. So many young pitchers on the pitching staff, but they have a long ways to go. 25-year-old had issues with his walk rate, respectable strikeout numbers, but again, below average on base percentage against. And 132 strikeouts, not doesn't seem to be a lot, but look at this. Strikeout per walk ratio, 5.08, 31.4% strikeout rate, which is really high, in a very minuscule 614 on base percentage against. Who is this guy? I'm only focusing on these figures. And as I go to the left, 25-year-old Hunter Green. So yeah, only made 19 starts, but man, those 19 starts were pretty special. But once again, Hunter Green just continues to struggle with just staying healthy. A little bit of a Jacob deGrom in him. So we would love to see him just get to that 30 game start threshold, get over 150 innings pitched for the first time in his career threshold. But what you see out there is just wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. So kind of a high risk, high reward type of player here. Let's keep scrolling. I don't want to spend too much time just looking at the strikeout on these high strikeouts. Now we're getting to the league average strikeouts, and we see a tale of two stories. A strikeout per walk ratio of 6.14 and a strikeout per walk ratio of 1.95. Obviously, we want to the red is what catches my eye as someone that I need to keep an eye on. 35-year-old Nate Eovaldi, which again, Nate Eovaldi, if it's one of those guys you just kind of draft, set him and forget him, but you also may want to consider, as soon as he gets off to a great start, you might want to consider trading him because he just seems to run out of gas at the end of the season. But the numbers are hard to ignore here. Once again from Eovaldi of the Texas Rangers, and then the 1.95, 18.2 strikeout rate. Who is that guy? 32-year-old Clay Holmes, which oh, I'm thinking about Grant Holmes. Who's Clay Holmes? Clay Holmes. I know it's a guy I always try to avoid. I just don't remember. Oh, the New York Mets. Oh, then never mind. I thought it was somebody else. Grant Holmes is the guy I was excited for. Clay Holmes, we can skip as I mean, on base percentages against is pretty low, but everything else is just kind of yucky. So you guys get the gist of it. You guys can download this for yourselves and just fiddle around if you're really good with spreadsheets. I mean, this is just simple conditional formatting. There's another guy I want to avoid. League average strikeout totals, but Jake Irving. Oh yeah, I always avoid him like the plague. He pitch the contact pitcher. No, no, thank you. Brian Bello. I used to like him as a up and coming prospect, but he has no control whatsoever of his pitches, and now he's not even getting strikeouts. So we can skip him. Let's go down to some of the lower strikeout totals and see if we find anybody that we like right off the bat with 105 strikeouts that has that greenish hue color, but everything else is red and orange, or maybe, yeah, I would say light to dark orange. with a 3.28 strikeout per walk ratio and a 27.3 strikeout ratio. It's Yuri Perez, who's coming back from injury. So, yes, we want that. And then conversely, 104 strikeout total, but only a 1.82 strikeout per walk ratio and 17.4 strikeout ratio. It's Tyler Anderson, who we always avoid like the plague. Another guy who catches my eye, especially with a 503 on base percentage against and healthy strikeouts, Trevor Rogers. I believe he's still with the Orioles. Um, Baltimore Orioles, former Marlins farmhand, who always had the promise and just kind of fell into some personal issues, some bad luck, some injuries. Hmm. But yeah, no, definitely someone that we should keep an eye on here. Let's see anybody else. I like this one. 3.92 strikeout per walk ratio. Eric Lauer. Okay. Yeah, Eric Lauer always posts these nice numbers, but only 15 games start last year. I believe he was with the Brewers last season. Double check my work, double check the things that I'm saying. Oh, the Blue Jays. Okay. Was he traded? It doesn't matter. But he ended the year with the Blue Jays, and I'm not even sure if he got traded or not. We talked about Miles Mikolas. Yeah, let's avoid him. Strikeout totals are too low and the on base percentage against is too high. 31 starts and only 100 strikeouts. Let's not do this. Let's look at good players. Look good pitchers. 615 on base percentage against Cade Horton. So you guys get the gist. Ooh, another guy, 29.2 strikeout rate, I should say. 29.2 strikeout percentage. Tyler McGill. See with the Mets? I always get the McGill people wrong. Yeah, Tyler McGill is with the Mets. Trevor McGill is with the Brewers, and he's a closer or relief pitcher, I should say. So there you have it. That is the strikeout totals. And yeah, anything in red we are interested in, and anything in blue we avoid. Another example of a blue color hue, the really bad number, Eric Fetty. Yeah, I know he was a darling in 2024, I believe. But yeah, definitely a guy I don't trust. I never trusted, and I'm not interested in. Here's Cam Schlittler. We saw him in the playoffs. We only saw a little bit of a preview of things to come. So if he stays healthy, this looks like something that we should look into in terms of the of Cam Schlittler. Another guy to look into who doesn't have all the orange and red hues that we're looking for. He has an 810 on base percentage, 3.57 strikeout per walk ratio and a respectable strikeout rate. It's Max Scherzer, who got off to a really bad start, and I drafted him in all my leagues, and I just kind of lost patience with him. I had to move on. He just wasn't coming back fast enough. And then, of course, I drop him, and next thing you know, he's just doing Max Scherzer things. Ageless wonder, and I'll probably be running to that well once again. He should be going relatively cheap. Conversely, here's another guy with a low strikeout total, 17.2 strikeout percentage, 686 on base percentage against, though, and a big, healthy 5.92 robust strikeout per walk ratio, Jansen Junk. So keep an eye on him. The strikeout totals are good, but the strikeout to walk ratio makes me want to look more into him and maybe draft him on the back end of my drafts in the upcoming season. So let's move on. I got some more numbers I want to share here. So we still have it sorted by strikeout totals, and I guess we can go ahead and let's do hard hit rate. Let's look at these guys from smallest to biggest. And hard hit rate um, is always an interesting statistic. What's this number? Oh, that's the adjusted. Yeah, I don't want to. Doesn't matter to me. Let's go. You can see the whiff rate on the right side. We'll talk about that in a little bit, as I definitely want to talk about the whiff rate here. But the hard hit rate. So people always tell me, Felipe, you always sort too focused on the strikeouts. Like you got to focus on the type of pitcher they are, the makeup, the stuff. Can they get outs and can they uh, give up? Can they keep batters off balance and make them hit for weak contact? Right off the bat, with a 31.1% hard hit rate, it's Ranger Suarez at the top of the leaderboard. And it's the usual suspects too. Like, you guys can bash these advanced stats like the hard hit rates. Like, what difference does it matter if it hits it hard or it hits it soft? But now it isn't now. Yeah, but as you guys can see, it's the usual suspects of pitchers that we want on our teams. Like the Hunter Browns, the Terry Screwballs, the Yu Darvish. Jacob Lopez kind of came up pretty big last year out of nowhere. Just I don't know, there's something off about it. What is it that I don't like about Jacob Lopez? Let's see here. No, yeah, he comes with a high strikeout rate. Uh, there's always something about him. We'll see if we get a little bit more information on him. And I hit the whiff rate. I just want to focus on some of these. Although I didn't do conditional formatting for expected batting average and WOBA, because I figured I just want to know what would the WOBA have been if it was just if everything was normalized to league average. And I'm now this is killing me. Why did I avoid Jacob Lopez last year? I know there's that launch angle sweet spot that he gives up a pretty high, at a pretty high rate. It can't be the call strike because he only pitched 17 games. Okay, zone swing and miss is pretty high. Is it just the fact that he doesn't induce a lot of swings, the healthy amount of swings? So yeah, maybe Jacob Lopez is someone that we should be looking into more often. And I just don't know what made me. Maybe it was the peripherals. Maybe the fact. Well, I was gonna say the fact that he pitches in Oakland, but no, they pitched in Sacramento last year. Maybe it's the pull rate. I don't like the pull rate there, but he makes up for it with a decent opposite rate. Is it the stuff? Was it the stuff? Yeah, low fastball, not enough RPM. So I don't know. It just seems like a guy who's more lucky than good. And then the off speed has so this guy. Oh, so it's the lack of velocity, but then his off speed average spin is 20 is a healthy 2,130 RPMs, which I guess that's how he's keeping these hitters off balance. But let's see, what was the BABIP? Man, let's see here. And that's the disadvantage of not doing conditional formatting for all of the stats that you see in front of you, because now it just kind of leaves you wondering for more. But 295 BABIP, I mean, that's pretty healthy. That's nothing out of the ordinary. All right, whatever. Let's keep move on. So Jacob Lopez, we can add him to the guys that we might be interested in. But again, by the way, this launch angle sweet spot is basically the number of times that a pitcher gives up a launch angle between 8 degrees and 32 degrees, which is considered the sweet spot, and then the barrel rate. I believe that's number of times that a hitter hits the ball in that same sweet spot for high exit velocities. So extremely high exit velocities. And I forgot what that threshold was, but I always like the barrel rate. But yeah, getting back to the hard hit rate from lowest to highest, we're just kind of looking to see not so much the sweet spot against percentage, but kind of looking to see what that expected WOVA was, because that should tell you if a pitcher was real or just lucky last year. And there's Eduardo Rodriguez. He gives up a lot of weak hits, low exit velocities, but uh, a 327 expected WOBA. So that indicates a little bit of regression coming his way next season, perhaps. Hmm. Other guys that we are who have very low hard hit rates, but have, like, for example, a 90-mile-per-hour exit velocity against Ryan Bergert, who I have no idea who that guy is, but now I'm kind of curious. And how old is he? 25? How did I miss a guy like? Oh, well, he pitches for the Royals, so that's how I missed him. Like, I wasn't if it wasn't Cole Reagans, I wasn't too interested in any Royals pitchers this upcoming season. Let's see. He was drafted in the 2021 draft, sixth rounder from the San Diego Padres. Eventually made his way to the Royals. He graduated as a prospect in 2025. 45 future value. Uh, Decent fastball grade. Really good breaking pitching grade. Changeup is a work in progress and really good command. How did I miss this guy? Uh, 15 starts last year. Yep. The walk rate was a little high, so that's a little bit concerning. ERA was pretty damn good at 3.66, but the peripherals don't like it, including that 4.68 expected field independent pitching. Must be a home run issue there. 0.94 home run per nine. So they're basically saying, yeah, if he were pitching at a hitter friendly ballpark, those home run totals would be way, way up there. That's at least that's my theory as to why it's so high. So yeah, regardless, there's a lot of things to like here, especially that he can get a better command of his pitches. There might be a little bit of promise here, but in the meantime, 90 mile per hour exit velocity is kind of a red flag, but not red enough for me to not view him as a late round flyer, especially if he wins a rotation spot next year. Hard hit rate of 36.6%, but a barrel rate of 11%, and an expected wOBA of 346. Yeah, I don't think I want this pitcher. Who is that guy? Tyler Anderson. I mean, pretty darn easy here. To spot. It just makes it just kind of solidifies all the things I've I've categorized in my head about some of these pitchers. Next on the line, 9.5% barrel rate, slightly below average, but a very dangerous 357 expected wOBA. That's the weighted on base average. But if you guys don't remember, weighted on base average basically is a hitter's batting average based on linear weights, where singles and walks are less valuable than doubles, and doubles are less valuable than triples. Triples are less valuable than home runs. It's Walker Bueller, who I think we are at a point where we are not obligated to draft Walker Bueller anymore because there's just nothing there. At least that's what he showed last season with the Red Sox. But things you never know with a guy like Walker Bueller's pedigree. You never know with a guy like him. But yeah, there's the thing about it is that there's other pitchers who are worth looking into, like Logan Allen. Well, he's Logan Allen's always an interesting pitcher to look at. Dylan Cease, but Dylan Cease is going to be going very early. But I'm just trying to see. Okay, Matthew Boyd, who actually has shown that he can actually survive in this league. Jameson Tyone. Okay, maybe not so much Jameson Tyone, although his contact numbers look pretty decent here. I just don't trust him too much. But you can't fight with the results there. Who's this guy? Zebby Matthews. Yeah, that's those figures are a little bit alarming. The barrel rate is pretty high at 9.9%, 332 expected wOBA, but he's only 25 years old, so that's probably a pitcher, especially if he wins out a starting rotation spot. I mean, he should, right? I think he's with the Twins. Yeah, he's with the Twins. The Twins traded everybody away last season, so he should be okay. And maybe he can improve on this really awful launch angle sweet spot percentage. At a 10.9 barrel rate, who are we avoiding? Bailey Ober? No, never. We can never give up on Bailey Ober. Never give up on Bailey Ober. Uh, yeah, I know. I try to avoid guys with the high barrel rate because it always results in just bad figures. I mean, look at Michael King, Max Scherzer. But again, he got off to a super slow start, but he eventually made up for it in other ways. And maybe Bailey Ober can do the same, but yeah, he's gonna have to show a lot of promise in spring for me to consider him again. Aaron Savali did enough to keep hitters off balance, but 9.8% barrel rate every once in a while. Just he was always an ordinary pitcher, and he could still get tattooed in this league. But he did a better job of kind of controlling that. Uh, some of the harder, I mean, 39.1% hard hit rate is pretty decent, as you guys can see from the orange hue there. Michael Lorenzen and Brian Bellows below league average expected wOBA. Ooh, here's a good one. Chris Bubich. I think he got hurt last year, if I remember correctly, also with the Royals. And then you get a 353 expected wOBA from Randy Vasquez, who I think we can go ahead and add him to our do not draft list. I've always liked Randy Vasquez, at least the idea of a successful Randy Vasquez in Major League Baseball. It's just not happening. Just not happening. Look at this guy, Quinn Priester, former Pirates standout, and just having a revelation last year. I believe still only 24 years old. I feel like he's been in the league forever, but he's just been was toiling around the Pirates organization before he made it to the Brewers. Brewers once again showing that they know what they're doing in terms of their pitchers. Minuscule expected WOBA, Yamamoto and Christopher Sanchez, usual suspects. And then you got a Kiter Montero with a high expected WOBA. Montero, though, still 24. Hopefully he gets things right. I think he was with the Tigers, and I know I remember seeing his name as a Tiger farmhand. And yep, Tigers last year. So we finally got to see a little bit of a little bit of Kiter Montero as a starting pitcher. He did some bullpen work based on the game starts divided by games. 60% of his games were pitching starts, 12 of them total. Let's take a look at some of the league average guys. Anybody who's around league, like a big yellow punch in the face and the hard hit rate. Guys we like, Logan Gilbert, duh, and Brian Wu. Okay. Guys we don't like in this league average hard hit rate, Jose Quintana and Miles Mikolas, of course. And then you got Emerson Hancock also with the Mariners. And that's kind of disappointing. We've been kind of waiting on Hancock to do something in this league. All right, let's keep it going. Anybody in blue with red hues? Yuri Perez. Okay, I mean he's coming back from injury. Maybe the hard hit rate will drop that next this upcoming season. Framber Valdez, a 46.3 hard hit rate. We know he could do much better than that, so bounce back candidate in this regard. Luis Castillo. I know he's getting up there in age. I know there was, I believe there was velocity issues, but still pitches for the Mariners. Still a decent pitcher. So we're not gonna give up too quickly on Castillo. Who else? Trevor Rogers, we talked about him. Jose Soriano, jeez. I still don't trust him, but there's a lot to. I mean, the more I want to just say don't draft Jose Soriano, there's these figures that tells me that maybe we should keep an eye on him still for the upcoming season. And a very hard hit rate of 47.6%, but low barrel rate, low expected WOBA. It's Adrian Hauser. Where did he go last year? Was he with the Brewers, the White Sox? Where was he? And oh, there he is. Oh, he's a free agent, I guess. Where was he last year? Because I cannot remember for the life of me. No, not Rafael Montero. I wanted Adrian Hauser. There he is. It's loading. Oh, he ended up with the Mets. Pitched for two teams last year. Who was it? Oh, there's a picture of him wearing a Mets hat on the Fangraphs page, but he pitched for the White Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays last season. All right, let's move on. So those are the guys that we want to see. Let's move on in terms of the hard hit rate. You know, we want to see a low number, but if we do see high, it better come with some redeeming qualities with a low, for example, a low expected WOBA and low barrel rates. I mean, you're gonna get hard. If you're gonna get hit hard, I mean, at least don't give up those sweet spots. The whiff rate, probably my favorite statistic out of all of them. I mean, it's a who's who of just amazing pitchers. Dylan Cease, Logan Gilbert, Tyreek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, Hunter Green, Jesus Luzardo, Tyler McGill, Spencer Strider making a comeback, Christopher Sanchez, and Carlos Rodon. And just guys over 30% just to finish up. Jacob deGrom, Freddie Peralta, Chris Sale, and Paul Skeens. These are all the guys that we want. And then you got a guy like Joey Cantillo. And let's see. I guess we should probably shrink this a little bit more because I want to get some of those zones swing and misses because those are pretty interesting. But yeah, my theory on pitchers is we want to see guys that miss bats, right? As much as people love their what do you call them? The guys who can pitch to contact and give up weak contact. It's all about blowing hitters away and making those bats miss. So we have the league leaders in called strikes. I guess we should sort it by called strikes instead. Let's sort it by volume, and let's see if some of these rate stats that we see here justify. So Logan Webb, of course, not a lot, not a big inducer of swings. Doesn't have a big uh, swing and miss rate inside the strike zone, but you know he's productive. He's the look at that 648 called strikes last year for Logan Webb, and still does enough swing and miss, to just be effective. Look at those number of swords, which basically is like a pitcher makes you swing, and the hitter is so full that he doesn't give you a full swing. It's kind of like a check swing, and it goes for a strike, and that's what's called a sword. That's just the dumbest way I could explain it to people. uh, mostly explain it to my dumb self here. Uh, so yeah, so what we're looking for, yeah, call strikes. So this is a volume thing. It's this is a war of attrition thing. It's a health thing. If you're up here, either you're really good or you're just really healthy. And this regard to Jake Irvin, he was just really healthy. Very awful whiff rate. Does not induce a lot of swings. And if he pitches inside the strike zone, he is not trying to miss bats. He's trying to induce contact. So we don't want that. We keep going. And there's a lot of bluish hue on the swing percentage. Usually we want to see guys like this at 49.5% overall swing percentage. It's Christopher Sanchez, 48.5% swing percentage, Mitch Keller, but he also has a very bad whiff rate of 20.6%. So maybe not Mitch Kelly, that's a bad example, but a good example at a whopping 51.8% swing rate that couples with a 29.4% whiff rate. It's Garrett Croquet. Garrett Croquet, and we all love Garrett Croquet. Look at that big number, 235 inside the strike zone, swing and miss. So yeah, that he loves to challenge hitters. I want to point out very low swing rate from Zach Gallen, which results in a very minuscule strike zone swing and miss percentage, which explains the paltry for a guy of his stature, the paltry 106 overall counting stat of the zone inside the strike zone swing and miss. So yeah, there's a lot of red flags there. Obviously, a lot of these other volume numbers are just based on the fact that he was able to pitch 33 starts. It's still Zach Gallen, but it's not the Zach Gallen that we think he is or what we think he could be. At the age of 29, maybe entering his age 30 season. Mm-mm. Just not a guy it's not worth the price of admission. I still think because of his name value, he's gonna go high next year, so that is gonna kill any value you can get for him next season. So again, the called strikes and even the stuff like zone swing and miss, either you're just elite level or a lot of it has to do with health, right? So let's concentrate on some of these rate stats, right? Like right off the bat, this is a danger. Kyle Hendricks, this is why he's retiring. Although I've been a little rough on Kyle Hendricks, but I want to give him credit too. He had a wonderful career just keeping hitters off balance, giving up weak contact, and just being a crafty pitcher for many years. But this is always a knock against him. It's not just the fact that he lacks strikeouts, but he doesn't really induce a lot of swings. Although, well, I mean, he does induce a lot of overall swing because he's trying to induce contact. But a 14.8 zone swing and miss with a 18.3 whiff rate, that we don't want that. Guys that also we don't want Sandy Alcantara, although he did bounce back as the season wore on. So we're not going to give up on Sandy Alcantara too soon. He was coming back from major reconstructive surgery to his elbow. Got off to a really slow start. He wasn't always a big strikeout pitcher, but he was always a guy that was just durable and didn't give up too much hard contact and he still throws like in the high 90s. So that alone should make you be curious and just kind of kick the tires on him. And he might be worth the I'm assuming he's still going high, like maybe seventh, eighth round, I believe. Maybe I don't know. I'm just guessing out here. I haven't had a chance to look at the 80 current ADPs. I feel like that's too early, but he's still gonna go in that vicinity just because of who he is. With the big name recognition, former Cy Young winner. Logan Allen, I know we said he's always interesting to look at, but yeah, not these are not the figures we want. 20.6 whiff rate, along with a 44.3 swing rate, and slightly below league average 15.5% zone swing and miss. So not very exciting. There's that Gavin Williams guy again, a very good 27.7% whiff rate, and that's why we're still not giving up on Gavin Williams too much. I know I was very critical of his very low strikeout to walk ratio, but yeah, still we this is he's only 25. Maybe he can improve. There's a lot to like here. 17.9% zone swing and miss. So we'll see how he improves and how he is able to bounce back. Merrill Kelly, I used to hate him. Now I like him, especially as a 36, 37-year old back of the line starting pitcher for you. I know the zone swing and miss is a lot to be desired there, but everything else, I mean, you can't ignore the other healthy numbers he's posting here. All right, let's take a look. Anybody else who's bad? Yeah, Nick Martinez, and bad in terms of just uh, poor whiff rates, and Miles Mikolas. So yeah, especially Miles Mikolas, we don't want him. Maybe Seth Lugo, but even then, we know what to expect. He's a very high, extreme high pitch to contact pitcher. Respect the craft, respect the game, but it's just not blowing me away. Same thing with Nick Martinez. I know I was big on him last season, but then you actually got to see Nick Martinez as a fantasy owner, and you were kind of underwhelmed by his performance, especially when it came to those missing bats and those big strikeout numbers. Well, what did he do last year? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was trying to keep pitchers off balance. Nick Martinez was, but ultimately, it's yeah, 739 on base percentage against, and only a 17% strikeout rate. So, all right, let's quickly keep it going here because we have one more spreadsheet to share. Yeah, Colin Ray, very low whiff rate, but 34-year-old still does enough in terms of the zone swing and miss to. I mean, and then 23 swords was very high for a guy who doesn't get a lot of high whiff percentage. So I know a credit to him being a volume pitcher and a pitch to contact pitcher, but the whiff rate just simply isn't there. Where I'm excited to at the prospects of getting him back, or not back, but just eyeing him late in drafts, especially when there's more interesting pitchers like is Justin Verlander going to bounce back? Shane Baz is always an interesting pitcher. He's showing some healthy swinging tendencies. Oh my goodness, excuse me. And you still got Andrew Abbott and Ranger Suarez. So, all right, let's see what else. What else do we notice from this? 21% whiff rate. That's below league average. Kyle Freeland. Always avoid him. Tomoyoki Sugano. That's definitely a guy I did not want, and he showed as to why. Here's a guy that we do want, despite the low swinging percentage. Edward Cabrera. If it's a Marlin, we're diving in. We love the Marlins pitchers in around these parts. Despite the low swing rate, overall swing rate, and the low inside the strike zone swing and misses, I still think that there's potential there in Edward Cabrera. Luis Castillo, apparently he everybody was complaining about him last season, talking about how he didn't have a really good season last year. And then you look at the swinging tendencies of Luis Castillo. He provided volume, and look at this, 51.6% swing rate. That's huge. And enough zone inside the strike zone swing and miss that just kind of leads me to believe that he still has a lot left in the tank. Matt Liberatore, former hotshot prospect for the Cardinals. Yeah, or the Rays, I believe, and then the Cardinals, if I remember correctly. tell me if I'm wrong in that regard. Yeah, it's just that's a very low zone inside the strike zone swing and miss percentage. But we do like Nick Lodolo. We do like Mackenzie Gore. Even Jack Leiter. He's a young pitching prospect, only 25 years old, so hope maybe a bounce back year. We do like Brian Wu. We don't like Jose Quintana and Jameson Tayo. I know we it's a mixed bag here, but I just I know that I believe the hard hit rate numbers were pretty low. Yes, they were for Jameson Tayo were pretty respectable. So he's become a pitch to contact pitcher, trying to keep hitters off balance with the contact that they make. But the swing tendencies are just simply not there in terms of the zone swing and miss and just swing and miss overall. There's Walker Bueller again. That we're definitely avoiding him in upcoming drafts. There's Ryan Nelson, who 18.2% swing and miss, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that that's Sean Berg. Oh, Sean Berg with an 18.2 swing and inside the strike zone swing and miss. Okay, and then yeah, swing percentage 50.4% for Ryan Nelson, despite the low inside the strike zone swing and miss from him. 15.6% for Ryan Nelson. Again, it's the whole Diamondbacks thing. Where like, hey, throw this fastball as hard as you can down the middle and see what happens. And that's basically what's happening here with Ryan Nelson. There's Chris Sale putting up healthy numbers at his advanced age, and then there's Taiwan Walker doing Taiwan Walker things, and then that's not a compliment. 43.8% swing rate from Landon Rope. So, oh, sorry, yeah, that is Landon Rope. Sorry about that, confusing myself a little bit. So Rope was a borderline must-have on waiver for at least maybe a month or so. But yeah, he's just once again proving that this might be more of a pitch to contact pitcher. Although 25.2% whiff rate is healthy, I'm a little concerned that it was more element of surprise than actually skill set because of the low 43.8%. I'd be concerned about that. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who could be had at very, very, very late in drafts. Mm. Ah. Who else? Zach Wheeler, but I think he's out for the year, right? Because didn't he something happened to his elbow, I believe. There's Logan Gilbert putting up a very excellent whiff rate of 32.9%. But then we got guys who are 18.1% in Antonio Senzatella, who we always avoid, and Bailey Falter, who we always avoid. So, oh God, who are these guys? 18.1% and 17.7% respectively. Adrian Hauser and Stephen Cole. Like we just sing the praises of Hauser, but yeah, he's the whiff rate isn't there and the swing and miss isn't there, despite the high swing rate. It just tells me that he's just a pitch to contact pitcher, which are those are the type of pitchers we don't want. But what do we want? We want Grant Holmes in his 29.7 whiff rate. We go back to the Grant Holmes well once again for the upcoming season, and Spencer Strider as well, uh, who might be had relatively cheaper in 2025 drafts. Uh, who else? Yeah, Kodai Senga, the usual suspect. Jacob Lopez, especially his 22.4% zone swing and miss. So, uh, yeah, hopefully Jacob Lopez, if these numbers are correct and they're predicting this to be correct. I mean, these aren't projections; these are literally what happened last year. But it just seems like the trend is going upwards for Jacob Lopez. So maybe 2026 will be the year that he becomes a household name in terms of fantasy. 42.4% swing percentage overall from Tyler Glass now, coupled with a 28.2% whiff rate. So there's a lot to like here. A lot to like. All right, and we're gonna. I want to move on, but then I just want to. We get to the bottom of this, and a low whiff rate of 20.8% is Jack Kukanevich. Jansen Jung, we just sang his praises, but it looks like he's just a pitch to contact pitcher. Mike Burrows, I believe, with the Pirates, and that's another under the radar prospect for them. If I have this right, yep, Mike Burrows. So just another pitching prospect that might be worth taking a look at for the Pirates, especially if you miss it on Paul Skeens and Bubba Chandler. There's another guy, I think Braxton Ashcraft. I believe he's a Pirate. Let me see. Double check the other screen. Braxton. Yep, Pirate. So yeah, Mike Burrows might be the most under the radar pitcher on that or in that organization. There's Yuri Perez's high whiff rate. Tyler McGill. So this is still sorted by called strikes. So again, literally just number of strikes that are being called as strikes or forced strikes, I should say. We now get to the bottom of the well, so to speak, and we're still looking to see for orange cues around the percentages, especially with percentage, sourdough. Let me, what the hell was that? With percentage and inside the strike zone swing and miss percentages. Tyler McGill up there. And who don't we want? Tanner Gordon and Valente Belozo, although he doesn't do a lot of swings and a lot of swing and miss inside the strike zone. So that's something to keep an eye on him as he's been on the Marlins radar for a while now. Moving along, we now get to the outside the strike zone swing percentage. So we were looking at inside the zone. Now we're looking outside the zone. Or yeah, and let's start from the bottom to the top, and let's sort this by outside the strike zone swing percentage totals. And yeah, we're looking at this. These, sorry about that. This is the low end, but yeah, we're looking at some red hues anywhere here for outside the strike zone, whether it be swinging miss or swinging tendencies or uh, and 63.5% from Tyler Glasnow. Yes, that will travel. Osvaldo Bido, the for the A's, I believe. That's a guy I've been keeping an eye on for yeah, the Athletics. For when I was looking at waivers, Bido's name would always show up. Jose Cantillo, maybe, although that's more league average than that red hue that we're looking for. Hayden Birdsong, uh, pitching prospect for the Giants. Guy I've been keeping an eye on for. He's actually been spotlighted on this podcast before. 32 point, and then we get to Zach Eflin, 32.1% outside the strike zone swing percentage, but it doesn't lead to a lot of swing and misses. And we know Eflin is a pitch to contact pitcher with decent to good stuff, but it's just not always translate into production. Luis Ortiz, I don't know which Luis Ortiz that is. It's probably from the Pirates, I believe. If not, it could be the Guardians. Oh, there's too many Luis Ortizes in this Major League Baseball. Zebby Matthews, and yeah, I know we talked about a lot of the red flags that Zebby Matthews has, but I thought I did say that he's young enough where he can fix things, and he should have a guaranteed rotation spot with a Twins team, and those swing tendencies outside the strike zone are very promising. As you guys can see there, in terms of outside the strike zone swing percentage and the outside the zone swing and miss tendencies percentage. Speaking of outside the zone swing and miss percentage, Jacob Latz. Where is he from? Latz. Only 8 starts, mostly out of the bullpen, so we got to be careful because yeah, that's the thing with bullpen guys is that if they're not pitching a lot of guys. So what I did here was to qualify to be on this list, you had to at least pitch in 15%. In 15% of your games must have been pitching starts. It, in terms of Jacob Lutz, I know that's not a lot, but 8 starts, I want to know how those what this guy did in those 8 starts and how they relate to um, deeper in the standings or deeper in this on this spreadsheet here. Emerson Hancock, is that right? It's both Emerson Hancock and Michael McGreevy. Low swing tendency. Oh, that's the pull rate. Okay, never mind. I was jumping the gun here. We'll look at the pull rate in just a little bit. So never mind what I said about Emerson Hancock. So that's Jacob Latz. So we don't know if that has more to do with him being utilized as a bullpen guy, or if that is just who he is as a pitcher, regardless of role. There's Pablo Lopez. You can't go wrong with Pablo Lopez. Who's this 23.5% outside the strike zone swing percentage? Chase Dollander. Is that the Rockies farmhand? 23-year-old? It has to be. Man, another promising pitcher for the Rockies. 2023 ninth pick overall in that draft, $5.7 million signing bonus, 55 future value, the 12th overall best prospect according to Fangraphs, 60 graded fastball, pretty good slider curveball. Changeup is a work in progress, but has a lot of upside and command. I mean, this guy is the total package. The only weakness is that he plays for the Rockies, and as you can see, mixed bag here with Chase Dollander, as he didn't induce a lot of swings outside the strike zone, but definitely healthy, 40.3% outside the strike zone swing and miss rate. A couple of more guys outside the strike zone swing miss it. Clayton Kershaw and Mitch Spence. Spence is showed up in a lot of these. Kind of catches my eye on a lot of these categories. So we'll hopefully we can talk about him a little bit later here. There's Trevor Rogers. That's the guy we want. Mixed back here with Jansen Junk. And again, I think we're establishing that he is a pitch to contact pitcher. Who's this guy? Blue, 23.2% Antonio Zenzatella. Yeah, we're avoiding him. And so same thing with Ciccone, who I believe is at the Guardians, showed some promise last year. But ultimately the league caught up to him. Spencer Schrolenbach, although I think he's out for the rest of the upcoming season. There's Hunter Green inducing those swings. So yeah, we want to see guys who can induce swings here. Aaron Nola, Chris Bubich with a high outside the strike zone swing tendency. And then sandwiched between them is Miles Mikolas. So yeah, Miles Mikolas pitched the contact pitcher there. So you got the gist of it. Uh who's it? Logan Gilbert showing elite level type of posting elite level together. All right, let's move quickly. So what I found out that we want the pull rates to stay low. Well, I guess maybe not too quick. Cause let's see, is there any other guys that we should be talking about here? So again, we have it sorted by total outside the strike zone swings. Here's Kyle Hendricks and Chris Paddock, very pretty much mirror images of each other, and it shows in their low outside the strike zone swing and miss tendencies. Same thing with, and then we get to the top 20, as you guys can see, and it's all red here. So yeah, we want these guys with the high swinging percentages and high outside the strike zone swing and miss. I mean, it's the usual suspect. Okay, so what I found out about pull rate is we want that number to be low and the opposite rate to be high. And again, Cam Schlittler, I mean, we move on up your rankings. You got the Yankee bias going. You got the playoff performance that are going against the guys who may want to get a guy like Cam Schlittler. Hmm. Michael McGreevy, we're running out of time here. I was hoping to be done in a quick manner, but I can't help myself. When I do this, I want to make sure I give everybody the information that they need. McGreevy, 16 starts last season. Uh, Former first round pick, 18th overall in the 2021 draft to the Cardinals, 45 future value. The fastball is what's gonna make him. It's gonna be that slider, which is at 50-50. Has a pretty decent curveball, I guess. Changeup is still a work in progress. Also couples that with a cutter, and the command is, yeah, he'll pitch the contact pitcher, right? And what did he do last season in AAA? 15 starts, nine strikeouts per walk. Nine strikeouts per nine innings, a very minuscule walk per nine, respectable ERA and peripherals. He gets to the big leagues, and yes, he is inducing weak contact, at least based on a pull and opposite rate, but still a major work in progress. Only 5.46 strikeout per nine when he got called up, and ERA and the peripherals look awful for McGreevy. Emerson Hancock, don't give up on me just yet, he says. But again, this is not telling me. Again, this is just a snapshot as to you know what we want to see from these pitchers. We want to see limited pull rate and forced opposite hit rate. Antonio Sensatella also qualifies, but again, it's Sensatella. He's not very good. There's Brian Wu, there's Hunter Green, there's Paulo Lopez, George Kirby, so the usual suspects as to who belongs on the list. And then we get to the pitches. Let's see. And again, based on what Eno Saris has said about this subject matter, and again, this is just before I start, this is just overall fastball. So it's everything. It's the four seamer, the two seamer, the cutters, perhaps. Same thing with the breaking pitches. I'm doing. It should be both curveballs and sliders, and then for off speed, it's just the changeups and I forgot what the other ones were. But yeah, I just don't have time to get a complete breakdown on pitching arsenals, and I'm not very good at it. It would just be a waste of time. I'm more into the some of the the data, the behind the scenes data that Statcast can provide. But what Eno Sarah says is that we want the velocities for fastballs to be high and the spin average spin rate RPMs to be matching that high as well. Again, usual suspects: Hunter Green at the top of the list, Paul Skeens with healthy average spin rates, Yuri Perez, Jacob deGrom, and then there's Jordan Hicks, who's always had a very good, lively fastball, but not enough spin. Probably the reason why he can't stick as a starting pitcher and why he has not been the overpowering relief pitcher that we thought he could be. There's Jose Ziriano, 97 mph fastball on average, but then only 1,967 RPM. So again, just gonna call it out. Carmen Mlodzinski, I guess. High velocity, low spin rate. Jack Kukanovich, high velocity, low spin rate. Logan Gilbert, Christopher Sanchez, high velocity, low spin rate, but that's not going to stop us from getting these guys. Both of them averaging 95 mile per hour on their respective fastballs. Here's a dark green fella, Luis Castillo. Oh, that's a red flag, but the fastball's still kind of lively in terms of the velo. A couple of guys here with higher than usual, sorry, lower than usual average spin. Herman Marquez, we got to get him out one of these days. We're gonna get him out of Colorado, and Pablo Lopez, who is in Minnesota, but that's kind of concerning. And it's probably stopping him from being an elite pitcher is just that he cannot get too much spin rate. Sean Burke, as you guys can see, Garrett Croquet is right behind him. The White Sox have a type, so to speak. Framber Valdez, very low spin rate, which is kind of dangerous. Let's really go in here. Here's a league average velo on the fastball with a very subpar, awful average spin on their fastball. It's JT Ginn. So yeah, it's just typical JT Ginn. Again, one of those pitchers you always available on waivers. You need a waiver wire pitcher. JT Ginn, his name always shows up. And just as you're about to grab him, you look at some more statistics from Fangraphs and you realize maybe this is not the guy to get. And it's probably because of a very minuscule average spin rate. So Brandon Pfaadt, that's one of the guys we talked about. League average fastball. I mean, this guy fastball was supposed to be super lively and it was gonna blow away pitcher hitters with his stuff. And the velo is down, but the spin rate is up, so that's some promise. Clark Schmidt again. We just kind of been waiting for him to show up and be a respectable starting pitcher, especially making that transition from bullpen to starting pitcher is not always easy. Logan Webb, red flag, low velocity, low spin rate, but we just talked about him. All he does is produce, so this is one of those where we don't care what the numbers, the behind the numbers say about him. Jose Barrios is definitely a guy we're avoiding. Chris Bubich, if he's healthy, we want him. Guys that we don't want: Bailey Falter, Eric Fatty, J.P. Sears, and Zach Little. All pitch to contact pitchers and all have awful velocities on their fastballs, as well as low RPM on their spin rate. Here's a guy low velo on the fastball, but high RPM on the fastball. Is Davis Martin, another White Sox pitcher? The White Sox have a type. Here's a guy who we mixed bag. We sing his praises on one end, and then we see this low velo, extremely low spin rate uh, for Joey Cantillo. So we definitely are gonna avoid him. There's a guy, Mitch Spence again, just shows up. I think he was with the Dodgers last year, and we have to look. Oh no, no, I'm wrong. Athletics. So Athletics, yet another pitcher that shows up for them on this list. Mitch Spence, 27-year-old. Oh wait, was he traded from the Dodgers? Is that what it was? No, Yankees, former Yankee. Sorry about that. I got confused there. But yeah, 1.40 future value, 50-50 fastball. Slider is what is elite, but the curveball is not too shabby. Command is a bit of an issue. But we are interested in that spin rate and see what happens when you get them on a team here. Low velocity, low spin rate, Colton Gordon and Jason Alexander. Low velo and high spin rate, Sonny Gray, Seth Lugo, Shota Imanaga. So a lot to like here. And then we get to the blue issue, 89 mile per hour, but a pretty healthy 2,311 RPM. It's Clayton Kershaw who's retiring. Let's look at the breaking pitches again. Same thing that Velo said. That's Eno Saris has said about pitching in general. We want higher velo and higher spin rates. Usual suspect. And then we got a guy who has very low spin rate. It's Logan Gilbert, but that's not going to stop us from drafting him next season. Other guys with very low spin rates: Casey Mize and JT Ginn, Zach Little, Christopher Sanchez. Even though that's not going to stop us from drafting him this upcoming season, it's enough to keep batters off balance. Oh, 85 mile per hour, healthy breaking average velocity with a very robust 3,182 average spin on that breaking pitch. It's Dustin May. And how long we've been waiting on Dustin May now? He just has to stay healthy. He kind of did last season. See if he can keep that going. Very low, 2027 breaking average on spin. Just kind of looking around, see what else yeah, Lucas Giolito, we can definitely avoid him. Don't avoid Grant Holmes. Don't avoid him. Move him up your draft list if you have to. Clark Schmidt, again, his stuff is never in question. It's everything else. It's just honing in that those command skills. And just because average spin isn't high on these breaking pitches, it's not going to stop guys like Paul Skeens and Luis Castillo. So it's not the end all be all, but we definitely would prefer to see these numbers to be high as opposed to low, like say Tanner Gordon, who I have no idea who that is. I don't even remember him pitching last year or being available on waivers or anything of that sort. Who is Tanner Gordon? Rockies pitcher, and that's why we don't take a look at him. Avoid Rockies pitchers. Low velo, well, not slightly above average velo with very high RPM. It's Brendan Fat and Mitch Spence. So not all hope is lost on Brendan Fat. As you guys can see a little bit of the sneak preview here, even the the off-speed pitches were elite. Well, yeah, Logan Evans. I believe he's with the Mariners last year. Logan Evans. Let's take a look. Yep, Mariners. Yeah, he pitched some games last year. 15 pitching starts. League average. Who are we avoiding? Lack of spin. Colin Ray. Yeah, we don't want to see a flat, hanging, breaking pitch that gets hit into the friendly confines. At 2,409, that's another guy we're trying to avoid. Miles Mikolas. Okay, this is starting to look normal. Mitch Parker, Jose Barrios. Let's go into the blue. Ooh, what do we got here? Very extremely low breaking velo, but very high spin rate. It's Kyle Hendricks, of course. Happy trails to him. And then if you don't like that, you still get let. And then Roop, low. And again, that's the reason why we don't give up on Valente Belozo. Yes, low breaking average velocity, but very high spin rate. Same thing with Aranola, Max Free, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So we all know who those guys are. That's a who's who there. Average off speed velocity or off speed average velo. We want to see that. Are you ready? Get set. And right at the top, Edward Cabrera, Jose Soriano, Paul Skeens, Taj Bradley, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the usual suspects, despite the fact that they don't always have a very top-notch average spin. But you know who does have average a higher than usual average spin on the off speed? At 90.4 miles an hour, it's Sandy Alcantara. Oh, wait, I forgot. Just kind of looking to see. There's one name right there. Drew Rasmussen. I'm pretty shocked. The velo is up there in terms of how it compares to everybody else. So that's a healthy velo. The RPMs are concerning. Oh, even more concerning, 919 RPM is Jordan Hicks, who we're gonna avoid this upcoming drafts. Are we going to go after this guy at 2,185 RPM? Osvaldo Vito might it might be worth the price of admission finally for him. Another guy with a very high average spin, despite well, league average, slightly above league average velo. So he's matching his spin uh, with Osvaldo Vito. It's Merrill Kelly, the ageless wonder. But then you got Clay Holmes, who has a very low spin rate. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to get to the part timers the way I want to, as we're running out of time. That might be another episode for another time there. But Gavin Williams, this is why we don't give up on him. Antonio Zenzatella, yeah, if I were this bad, I'd probably just depend on off-speed pitches. I mean, come on. Joe Ryan, we never give up on Joe Ryan. Lots of green, Brendan Fat. Uh, yeah, I mean, the stuff is just amazing. Let's see if I can. Let's go ahead and hide some of the content from the freezing. Oh, no, I did not want to insert. I wanted to hide. Because it's only a select few pitchers that have that orange to red hue on all three of these subsects in terms of the pitching. And I want to see who those guys are. Yeah, Edward Cabrera. Ooh, almost Jack Leiter. But again, Jack Leiter has a low spin on this off-speed pitch. Who's this guy? What about this guy? Yeah, Davis Martin. Wow, Davis Martin. That's what the numbers say. We got to keep an eye on him. All right. Who else? Do take a look at Ryan Pepio and don't let this low spin rate scare you into not drafting George Kirby. Cal Quantrill, Yu Darvish with very low off-speed spin rates. Christopher Sanchez with high spin rates. So yeah, we want to see that. Ooh, yuck. What is this? Mitch Parker and Bailey Falter. Yeah, definitely we don't want those guys. And definitely don't want Eric Lauer. And yeah, we're coming to the end. Sorry, guys. I thought we had time to do both the part-timers and the full-timers, but we're running out of time here. There's Andrew Rabbit as a guy with a pretty healthy spin rate despite the low off-speed velo. Michael Sakura, again, very high spin rate despite the lack of velo. This is the opposite of that. This is the back. Bryce Miller. Ooh, Bryce Miller. How the mighty have fallen. Fastball is good. Breaking pitch is respectable in terms of the spin rate, but the off speed is lacking. Other guys who lack a little bit spin on their off speed pitches. Kate Povich and Zach Little. And again, I can't remember what entails a off speed pitch. I know it's mostly changeups, but I forgot what the other pitches were. So that's shame on me. But regardless, again, if we're gonna go with the old adage that we want higher velocities and higher spin rates from these pitchers because the data shows that those are the type of guys that are productive in Major League Baseball. That's what we're trying to do here. Like, but in the meantime, we're still looking at guys like Bailey Over, Clayton Kershaw. Who's this guy? Diego Lopez. 957 Logan Allen. That's very low. 727 Logan Gilbert. Again, very low. And as you guys can see, we're deep diving, and that's it. So Ranger Suarez, low off speed, but he makes up for it in other ways. And then there's Jeffrey Springs, who very gutsy performance last year. High spin rate despite the lack of velo. It's Nick Martinez, because of course, Matt Boyd and Tyler Anderson. And that's a good way to put it. That's a good place to stop. So hopefully this helped you guys kind of figure out who is worth keeping an eye on in terms of drafting and who we should probably be avoiding based on these Statcast numbers. But again, I do once again I apologize. I thought I had time to do both these full-time starting pitchers and the part-time starting pitchers. We'll have to do the part-timers on a different day. But I was your host, Felipe. This was the Total Basis Podcast. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.